Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Crazy News Raiders. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down the first and second rounds of the NFL draft with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, the Las Vegas Raiders decided to go with running back from Boise State, Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty was projected to go 6th overall in a lot of people's mock drafts. Before the NFL draft, some people even had Jacksonville, who was at the time the number 5 overall pick, taking Genty. We know what happened with Jacksonville. They decided to trade up, get Travis Hunter, and the Raiders decided to draft Ashton Genty with the 6th overall pick. Genty, a guy that had over 1,000 yards after contact and over 2,000 yards rushing, was a great pick by the Raiders. Anyone who says it otherwise just is wrong, in my opinion. These are Ashton Genty's stats. Genty, as you see here, just a phenomenal player. Looking at these stats, you would think, how can anyone debate that he's not a good running back? Genty had an average of 7 yards per carry, which shows that even if he's getting a lot of carries, it doesn't matter because he's still getting a lot of yards on each carry. If Genty was averaging 3 yards per carry and still getting the same amount of carries that he did, I would understand someone's point saying that he's not a good running back. But the fact that he's getting 7 yards per carry shows that he really is a great player. In 2023, Ashton Genty averaged around 13 yards per catch, which is really good for a receiving back. This shows that Ashton Genty's a 3-down back. He can play every single down at a high level. And anyone who's debating him of catching the football, look at his 2023 stats. I understand that his 2024 stats weren't that good, but he still has the ability to catch the football. Another thing people are criticizing him for is his ability to block. I do admit, this is the one part of Ashton Genty's game that is a little shaky. Genty is not the best pass blocker, but I really do think that he can get back on track with this Raiders coaching staff. Genty is so good of an athlete that I'm really not afraid that he's not going to be a good blocker. I think that just because of how athletic he is and how much I trust this Raiders coaching staff, they'll be able to teach him how to become a good blocker and to become a good running back blocker. So next up, let's talk about wide receiver from TCU, Jack Besh, who the Raiders decided to take with the 58th overall pick in the NFL draft. So here's the thing. Some of you might be like, what? How'd the Raiders get the 58th overall pick? So over here's the trade that the Raiders did. They decided to get a trade with the Dolphins and the Texans in the second round. So the Raiders picked up 2 extra third-round picks from these trades and 2 extra fourth-round picks from these trades. These trades are over here. I'll show both of them. But let's first talk about the Dolphins trade. The Dolphins trade, the Raiders gave up pick 37. They got pick 48. And those are the two main things that you have to worry about. The Raiders moved down 11 spots in the draft, which is a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. But they did get a lot extra draft capital. They got an extra third-round pick. And that's really going to help them later in the draft for a team that has a lot of holes to fill. So then, once the Raiders got to the 48th overall pick, they decided to trade down again with the Houston Texans. That trade's over here. So the Raiders gave up pick 48, which is originally from Miami, and they got pick 58, and they got an extra third-round pick. So the Raiders, they got 2 third-round picks, which were back-to-back picks, and they did move down 20 spots in the draft. That isn't the best, but they did get some other draft capital, such as 4th round picks. But now we have to talk about what the Raiders did with that second round pick, 58 overall. They decided to go with and take wide receiver from TCU, Jack Besh. So I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't that thrilled at the moment. I wasn't mad, but I was just a little confused since I wasn't that familiar with Jack Besh. A lot of people have been panicking with the Raiders, saying this was a terrible move, and I completely disagree. After watching Jack Besh's film, looking at his stats, it really shows that he is a player that can compete at a high level, and he's really going to help this Raiders receiving corps. He's a physical wide receiver that can block. He's got good routes, and he's going to be the wide receiver 2 for this Raiders team, kind of like a guy like Jacoby Myers, but he can't have the ability to develop into a true number 1 wide receiver. Jack Besh, his freshman year at LSU, he had some good numbers, around 400 yards. But then the rest of his years as a sophomore and junior, he wasn't the best. But then in his senior year at TCU, by the way, he transferred to TCU in his going into his junior year. So he had 2 years at TCU. In his last year at TCU, which was last year, he had really good numbers. He had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he had. So he had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, which are good numbers for a college football wide receiver. The main thing that I get out of this Raiders draft pick is that they're going to try their very hardest to make Ashton Genty succeed. Jack Besh, one of the best blockers in this draft class. I know that a wide receiver doesn't do that much blocking wise. It's more of, the offensive lineman. But having a good wide receiver that can block can really help your team out. Ashton Genty, he needs good blockers. And if you put the right team around him, Ashton Genty can be a stud. And the Raiders know that. So that's why they decided to go with wide receiver from TCU, Jack Besh. So that's going to be it for today's Raiders video. I might have another video coming out shortly about the later rounds in the draft, such as the third, fourth. I probably won't do that many videos or spend that much time talking about the later rounds, like the sixth and seventh. But thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.